Hello everyone, my name is Katie, also known as Insider PhD. Welcome to NahamCon. My presentation today is learn to hack, choose a target, something, hack I guess, get a bounty. And this is really going to be a whirlwind tour around a bunch of issues in bug bounties, or what I think are issues, and how I think that you can learn how to do bug bounties like right now, no special requirements at all. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Katie. I'm also known as Insider PhD. I run a YouTube channel where I teach people just like you how to learn how to get into bug bounties and web application hacking more generally. So the basic recipe, and this is what I tell people, to learn how to hack is to learn to hack, to then choose your program, hack, I guess, however you do that, and then you get your bounty. And it's kind of presented in these steps, and we hack, we find bugs, we write a report, we move on. But I don't really think it's that simple, and I don't think anybody else thinks it's that simple either. Bug bounties change and adapt over time, and what even I may have learned last year is not necessarily going to be relevant for you. The people who learned 5 years ago, it's not necessarily going to be relevant for you. And I think actually the landscape has really changed. Because really we have all these other questions. We have mentorships, automation, private versus public, checklists, methodologies. Are all the bugs gone? When do I give up? How do I take notes? How to test for vulnerabilities? Can I even find bugs when pros find so many? And this is kind of what I'm going to address today. It's like these three issues and really how I think you can learn how to do bug bounties this year. So let's look at the first one, learn to hack. This is the fundamentals to consider when you're learning to hack. Where should I learn from? So the first advice I always give is whatever works best for you. There is absolutely no right answer. There is no magic spell. There's no pill. There's no course. There's no money you can pay to just become good at bug bounties. And there is just no right answer. What will work for me won't necessarily work for you. It won't necessarily work for your friends. But I like this idea of this learning pyramid. It's completely debunked. No scientific evidence behind it before. The idea is to have this kind of variation. You know, if you just watch something, you don't really retain a lot of the information. But if you see a demonstration, if you practice it, if you teach others, you then retain more. And something that works for me really well is write-ups. So I really like reading write-ups, I really like digesting them, and then I really like to present them on my videos, and that's really useful for me because I learn a lot by practicing and then by teaching others. So what I think is the best thing to do is really to get some variety, like choose a bunch of different ones, immerse yourself in hacking. And that can really be a huge advantage. Keep up with the news, like on Twitter, via newsletters. Just put yourself in a position where you don't necessarily have to eat, sleep, breathe bug bounties. Just make sure you are kind of exposed to it regularly. And the next piece of advice I can really give is take effective notes as you learn. Effective is going to completely depend on you. There is no correct way for taking notes. But you should take notes, because when you take notes, you will remember more, 100%. They really don't have to be detailed, just enough so you can remember them. So you might be thinking, okay, if they don't have to be detailed, what should I actually capture? And I think what you should capture is signs. And I say this a lot. So what really separates pro bug bounty hunters from new bug bounty hunters is that new hackers learn one bug and then look for that everywhere. And that really gives you a disadvantage because you can be looking at a bug straight in your face and completely be unaware of it. So what I think the best way to kind of get around this is to learn the signs of more than one bug, even if it's just 3 or 4, versus learning one bug and learning 4. Well, you've got your chances up by 4 there. So whenever you read, watch, listen, however you absorb your information, ask yourself questions like, how do they know what to look for? Why did they try that? One example is, every IDOR usually revolves around ID. So now as a hacker, as soon as I see an ID, I'm constantly checking for IDORs. If I see reflected input, I'm thinking cross-site scripting. I'm terrible at cross-site scripting, but I would be thinking it. And that's, I think, what you kind of need to get out of your notes is getting those signs really quickly. But then you might be thinking, but I won't know how to exploit it. So really what your notes should do is help you become familiar with a few bugs, but you still need to be able to recall it. My advice is to go broad with your knowledge, go broad with your notes, and go deep when you need to exploit, only when you actually find yourself needing to exploit. So always make sure to record where the information came from, right? Even if it's just a link to a blog post, right? Notes are good for simplifying and helping you remember. If you have loads of complex technical information in your notes, they're just not going to work for you anyway. So what should I take my notes in? So I did a poll on Twitter, and I had people face off against different note-taking apps. But honestly, whatever you like, it's completely up to you. If you like a specific method, a system, piece of software, just keep it. There's no point changing it. I really like Notion, and I also have a lot of handwritten notes, but you might not like Notion, and you might not like handwriting your notes. And that's fine. I did my poll, and Obsidian was voted as the one people most liked, with Notion as a second, with Vim as the community choice, which really shows, there are very broad categories here. There's no one application, and you can just write notes in a text file. It really doesn't have to be complicated. You just need a way to recall them later. So what do I think the goal is? I think the goal is what you might think is a knowledge map and a knowledge base, a way you can kind of go, vulnerability, yes, I will look for XSS, and in the XSS category you have bunch of reports on XSS, maybe bunch of blog posts, bunch of different types. Maybe you have it split up into DOM and reflected and stored, right? Maybe you have it so it's completely separate and you can kind of search what you want then. You want to build up a knowledge base. You want to build up something that's unique to you, that you know how to use. And then when you hack and when you sort of see, oh yeah, that's the sign of that one bug, you can just go into your knowledge base, scroll down, find the resources that you think will be most appropriate and try and replicate their exploits. And a lot of people ask, when are you done learning? When are you done? And the answer is never. The best hackers are learning all the time. Nobody ever goes, yes, I am the ultimate ruler of bug bounties. I now know everything. Literally no hacker will tell you that, because everyone is always trying to learn and improve. They're always reading. They're always trying to improve their practice. They're working with others, trying to understand them. But then you might be thinking, so when am I ready to move on? And the answer is right now. There is no critical mass of knowledge you need to get started in bug bounties. I promise you're good enough. There is no, doing something else is not going to be the thing that lets you get bounties, right? It is just, you've got it now. Just roll with it. So that was my kind of learn to hack section. Let's talk about choosing a program. And, how do you choose a program when you don't really know what you're doing? So let's talk about bug bounty platforms. So if you're not really sure what a bug bounty platform are, they're third parties which host bug bounty programs. So programs are things you can hack. A platform hosts them. And they kind of let you hack a different range of companies. They do things like coordinate payments, help manage programs. They may also provide triage services, invite only. It really doesn't matter which bug bounty platform you go to. All of them are good. You might want to pick one based on what we'll talk about a bit later, but there's no wrong answer there. And you might be thinking from that, well, don't all the pros have all the bugs anyway? And you can never find a bug. And I will promise you, as a beginner, you will find bugs that pros don't. Not every bug can be automated or will be automated. Some bugs pros don't exploit when they find it, because they're focused on kind of more critical issues. And fundamentally, it doesn't matter what program or platform we choose, we can always turn the tide in our favor. So a big platform or a small platform, it really doesn't matter. We just need to be hacking on a program which we can kind of see people have seen. So what we want to see, this sounds really weird, what we really want to do is look at programs which people haven't had a look at yet and try and get as fresh as possible. This could be a public program, it could be a smaller platform, it could be a niche platform, it could be a private program in a large platform, or just a program that has regular updates. We really want to see new stuff. We want to see new assets. We want to see things that haven't been touched before, because that will improve our chances. And I say that bug bounty is a mixture between luck and skill, and this is how we turn the tide of luck in our favor. So public versus private, if you're really worried, go for a private program. Look for programs with a low total bounties paid, which suggests a newer program, but that have a good response time, especially time to bounty, because that means it's an active program. What industry specifically? I always say any. If you have an option to hack an app you already kind of know, definitely hack that, because those tend to be things where you know them quite well already, you know what some of the functionality is, so you'll be more at advantage basically. But there are certain programs that are always going to be better for low competition bug bounty hunting, like for example mobile apps. Trust me, nobody touches mobile apps. It's harder, it's more of a pain to get set up, and because of that, less people do it. Android is popular and easier to set up. You can do it entirely on an emulator. Less people do iOS overall. You need an iOS device unless you have one of the new MacBooks. But fundamentally, mobile apps are the place to go if you want to learn kind of niche skills. Okay, so then we've kind of covered like programs, we've covered learning to hack. How do we actually hack anyway? Like, how do you hack? Like, how do you actually do that? So let's have a chat about actually hacking something. Hacking is partly luck. To find a bug, you need a combination of luck and skill. Now, when you first start out, this might be like 80% luck, 20% skill. But as you improve your skill, luck is less of a factor. And what the pros have done to kind of tilt that even more in their favor is they have specialities. Like, that's how hackers get the consistency. They have the consistency, the knowledge, and the experience to flip that around and make it so skill is far more in their favor. But when you first start out, luck will definitely be an aspect of whether or not you find a bug. And that's important to recognize. And you shouldn't feel bad if you can't find a bug, because it is challenging. And the most difficult part of hacking is, well, hacking stuff. Hacking is different for different people, like learning. The way people hack is differently. There's posts that get kind of spread around where it's like, how did you find your first bug? And you know, I found my first bug like kind of randomly. I found it, I was very fortunate. And this is when we can use it to our advantage, because we have mentorship and collaboration. It's challenging. We have a large community. Like, there are so many other people, and you'll see them in the chat now, literally talking. We have such a large community that we can make those connections with each other. We have the ability to collaborate, to listen, to join together, and we can meet other hackers. Use this. Join communities like Nahomi's, right? Talk to people. It's fantastic for learning, because not only will you see how different people hack, you'll also see how different people learn and what different resources get shared. And being part of a community is such a big advantage, especially when it comes to you as a more established hacker. As you improve, you'll see, oh, I already have a bunch of hacking friends I can ask if they want to collab with me, right? It's not a case of I'm completely on my own, because you're not. Now, a lot of people like to use other people's methodologies. And I think this is a difficult subject. I don't think other people's methodologies will work for you unless you adapt to it. Some people are very recon heavy, like NahamSec. He is very recon heavy and he finds bugs with his recon. And some people don't really like recon. And you know what? You'll figure out what works for you in time. It takes experience. It takes learning. It takes actually hacking something and getting that kind of, oh, actually, I don't really like doing this. This is kind of boring. And on the subject of recon, I think this is a difficult subject because I think a lot of people think, oh, recon is how I get bugs. When you do recon, you really need to do it thoughtfully. You need to be thinking, what am I trying to accomplish? And from that, are you trying to understand the whole attack surface? Are you looking for hidden endpoints and functionality? Are you looking for pure information disclosure, file disclosure? And always think about that goal, what you're going to do next. A lot of people will run recon and then they don't necessarily know what the next step is for them. So really think before you do something like recon, what you actually need it for and what you're actually going to do with it afterwards and how are you going to use it. And that will really help when it comes to actually using it effectively. Whether that's taking screenshots, whether that is, oh, I want to look for JavaScript files. All of that is best done by recon, but you have to know what you want first. And on the subject, automation. So automation is really trendy right now. And I'm sure you have all heard of Nuclear at this point. I will say that relying on automation alone is unlikely to get you a bounty. It's more likely to get you a dupe. A lot of these tools are available for everybody now. And what I think is important is to learn manual testing first and then figure out how tools fit with your methodology. So as an example, I hack a lot of APIs. One of my major issues I have when hacking APIs is finding additional endpoints. So one tool that kind of solves that problem is FFUF. So I use that as a fuzzer. So I haven't just used that because it's on trend right now. I use it because I had a specific problem I needed to solve that couldn't be solved with manual testing. And my kind of number one piece of advice for all hacking is to hack what you can see. Focus on functionality first. If you see a logon screen, you need to be testing for like account takeovers. Can you reset the password? If you see e-commerce, you should be thinking about pricing issues. If you see a comment system, you should be thinking about XSS. Any kind of like deleting permissions, creating permissions, you should be thinking about IDORs. Hack the functionality that you can see. Don't get obsessed with like where RCEs are. That will come in time when you get more experience and you kind of understand better what you like to hack. For the moment, focus on what you can see and how you can break what you see. And that is the best way to actually get started. And you're probably thinking from this, how do you actually know when you found a bug? And that seems like a really simple question, but it's kind of a complex answer, right? How do we actually know if something's vulnerable? Well, what we look for as bug bounty hunters is impact. And what is impact? Impact is some kind of effect on the security of an organization. Even non-technical bugs can be impactful, and complex technical bugs not impactful at all. For example, I know that my mentor, Sarah, she had found a vulnerability, and it was like RCE, so you're thinking top level, apart from it was a sandboxed environment, which she'd gone like the difficult route to find a bug on. And equally, you know, one of my best bugs is not something that has like really complicated. It's a very simple IDOR, but with a really impactful effect. And that's what makes bugs like unique. So we found something. How do we actually get paid? How do we do that get a bounty part? So how do you know if you've got impact? The easiest thing to do is to ask yourself some questions. Does this affect the organization's data or intellectual property? Does it affect the users of a product? Is this likely to affect the reputation of an organization? And kind of more generally, would a malicious actor be interested in what you found? As bug bounty hunters, we play malicious actors, right? We play the scary hacker in the basement with all the lights turned off in a black hoodie. And what we need to do is scare a business into paying us money. Not to like say, oh look, if you don't do this, I'll hack your systems, but to say, hey look, this is a really serious issue that you need to address right now. And with impact, we need to constantly link it back up to what the business is and what it does. We want to put like our findings into their language. So what does this mean? So let's say you find an IDOR on an e-commerce platform. The IDOR allows you to cancel an order without being logged in. What does this mean for the organization that you're hacking? Well, we can go ahead and say a malicious actor could go ahead and cancel everyone's orders without them knowing. This links back to what the organization does. We're not using the term IDOR. While we might give technical details, when we talk about impact, we kind of want to talk more generally. It's kind of thinking about how would you make that case to somebody who maybe isn't technical. Linking it back to what the business does is really vital. So why does impact matter? Well, impact tells you found something interesting. And a core idea you structure a report around. Bug bounty platforms aren't actually there to throw money at you. They want to protect their customers, reputations, organizations, and data from malicious hackers. Now, if we look at the photo, the issue there is a plane crash, right? Like, that is not not that obvious. But we need to be thinking, what is the impact that could have? So somebody could die. There could be a fire. The home could be damaged. We might see something even kind of greater. You know, what if they can't control the blaze? That could cause a forest fire. And that's how we need to be thinking about our vulnerabilities, is like, okay, what could this do if left unchecked? Why do they need to care about this? And that's how you get bugs triaged well. And even if, you're not that great at English, if you just have a go, most organizations will work with you to kind of understand that impact, not against you. So what makes a good report? This is, I think, the 5 most important ones. First is clear, concise writing. If you're not a native speaker, try your best and get a friend to give your writing a second look. It could be a really good advice, because I'm dyslexic, is to put your writing into Google Translate, put it into English, and then listen to it, and then say, oh, okay, I can kind of see what sounds clunky. The other thing is a lot of bug bounty programs might actually support your language. I think Microsoft has a really wide range of languages it supports. And if it would be better to be in your native language, then write it in that. If you can write clear and concisely, that's the important part. Second is you need to explain the vulnerability on their terms, not on your terms. How does it affect their users? And that's, I think, what a lot of people get wrong, is they kind of think about vulnerabilities in a kind of a weird kind of hacker way, when actually we need to put that into a business perspective. 3 are clear POCs, right? Making sure those steps are really clear, making sure that, people can understand it, follow those steps. Bonus points for things like videos, one-click exploits, those things that just make a triager's job just a little bit easier. And talking about triagers, 4 is be polite. Being rude and yelling at them won't help your bug be triaged faster, right? Just be professional. 5th is don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions that your triager kind of knows everything about an asset or what it does, or that they even know every bug in existence. What's great about bug bounty hunting is actually we can learn from each other, both triager to hacker and from hacker to triager. And actually you might know more about an asset than the triager does initially, because you've been hacking on it for 5 days straight. So that is the end of my presentation. I want to thank you all very, very much for listening to me. I hope this has helped you kind of be a bit clearer on some of the steps in bug bounties. I know this is kind of a whirlwind tour through quite a lot of these different issues, but I really hope it's helped you. I want to thank NahamSec for inviting me to speak, and I want to thank you all for listening to me. Have a great rest of the conference. I hope you learn a lot. Get your notebooks out, because we're taking notes from this point onwards. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye, everyone.